Hiring a nurse shouldn't feel risky, but if you do it wrong, you could lose your license, your business, and your insurance. I've seen it happen. And the worst part, most founders didn't even know they broke the law. In this episode, I'll show you the 3 biggest nurse practitioner hiring mistakes, how supervision laws really work, and what smart clinics are doing to protect themselves. Stay with me till the end, and I'll give you a simple checklist you can use before you even post the job. So imagine this. It's a lovely day. You're walking out to the mailbox. You just subscribed to the David Holt Show, and you go to open your mail, and you get a notice, and it's addressed from the U.S. Department of Labor. You open that notice, and it comes to find out that one of your contractors that you thought was a contractor, you said was a contractor, the U.S. Department of Labor received a complaint from that person, and now they're investigating to decide whether you misclassified them and they should actually be an employee. And now that beautiful day turns into a nightmare, because what we're going to have to do is provide documentation showing that this person is actually a contractor. So the weird thing about labor law is that even if you say someone's a contractor, the state can actually overrule that and say, no, they're an employee. And it's very complicated. There's both federal law, there's state laws. The state laws are very different. And so the risk about not understanding these rules and what's generally called a multi-factor test at the federal level in most states is that if you get the misclassification wrong, you're not only looking at back taxes for that staff member, you're also looking at additional fines at the state and maybe the federal level. Not a fun place to be. Really ruins your day. And so a common myth about contractors is that if I just have my template agreements and they sign that, I'm good to go. That's only one factor in a multi-factor test. We're also looking at things like how you treat them behaviorally. What does the day-to-day look like? Can they work somewhere else? Can they pick their own schedule? What is the rate that you're paying them? Is it hourly? Is it fixed fee? Is it percentage? Is percentage even allowed? There's a lot of little minefields where you don't know what you don't know. And really what we're trying to do is just understand what classification looks like at the beginning. Let's dig into how supervision really works and why the fine print matters more than most founders think. So on a previous episode, we talked about supervision, right? So you got your supervision agreement in place. But the trap here is that there is a difference between a collaboration agreement and supervision. So you did everything right in terms of a supervision agreement, but you didn't realize that there was a difference between a collaboration and a supervision agreement, which now relates to labor law. And so what that means is that what we did in terms of supervision might be one of the factors that decide whether this staff member is a contractor or an employee. And so what this means is we need to make a conscious choice when we're working with somebody. We need to decide who they are and purposely pick and have a defense ready as to why they're a contractor, why they're an employee. Do they actually need a collaboration agreement? Do they actually need supervision? We're at least deciding these things right out of the gate so that if we're under scrutiny from the government and a lawsuit from a board, whoever, we have all of our ducks in a row. So this all goes down to what documentation you have on file and when you even need it. I've seen with a lot of clients that they're borrowing templates and documents from other businesses, not by itself a bad thing, but they assume that they need a collaboration agreement when they don't. They have a bunch of signed supervision paperwork that they didn't even need. And when somebody else comes in and looks at this, let's say it's the U.S. Department of Labor and they're knocking on the door and they see a supervision agreement on file and one didn't even need to be there. Or even worse, they use the supervision agreement that was on the file that wasn't supposed to be there to say that this person is actually an employee. That would be a self-inflicted wound because you actually put a document in the file that gave the government an argument to say this staff member is actually an employee. So just knowing what documentation should and should not be in the file to begin with is step number one. Another thing I always see is, especially in the post-pandemic world, a lot of nurse practitioners are operating in with out-of-state or multi-state operations. Telehealth is huge after the pandemic. And what that means is that we're working with multiple states and their labor laws. And on top of that, our federal labor laws, which gets very confusing. And so the key here is to make a conscious choice again as to who you are, where you're at, and what documentation should be on file. The clinics that get this right all have the same things: clear protocols, signed documents, and ongoing oversight systems. And these are three of the things that I'm going to have in the step-by-step checklist for legally hiring a nurse practitioner down in the description below. This is going to include things like how to integrate oversight into your operations without micromanaging. With this checklist, what you're going to be able to do is know all the things that you need to hit without actually having to go and check on them every single day and make sure that they are done, and being sure that you're covered from a legal perspective. Also, very critically, I see this all the time, we're going to have what to say and what not to say in your job post to stay compliant. I can't tell you how many people I see, and you can go out and Google and check this as well on Indeed, LinkedIn, that say that they are hiring a 1099 contractor, but they actually don't understand. And they say in their job post, employee, 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 and training. And they don't understand that there's a difference even between a 1099 contractor and a W-2 employee. And so just looking at the job post itself, red flag. And I already know that that business doesn't know what they're doing, and it's just a matter of time until there's probably some sort of investigation or misclassification. Really, the biggest thing about the checklist is it's going to break down the big differences between an employee and contractor and try to demystify that in a nice systematic way that then you can follow and understand. Now, we just walked through how to set yourself up for success legally and how to avoid healthcare lawsuits, but sometimes they're inevitable. So I want to make sure you're fully prepared for what might be inside. I went ahead and read 50 healthcare lawsuits and broke down the trends and red flags you need to be aware of to keep yourself and your healthcare business secure. Make sure to look out for that episode, and we'll see you on the next one.